Have you ever wondered why life makes you wait? Why doors don't open when you knock? Or why the universe seems silent just when you need answers the most? According to Carl Jung's psychology, what feels like delay is often the deeper process of the psyche at work, what he called individuation, the unfolding of the true self. Jung taught that the unconscious guides us through patterns and symbols, and even our waiting seasons are part of that hidden design. You are not being denied, you are being shaped. The silence is not empty, it is alive with meaning, preparing you for the very moment when everything aligns. There is no such thing as chance. Nothing in your life happens randomly. What you call waiting, delay, or silence is not the absence of movement, but the unfolding of a deeper order that the mind cannot always perceive. The universe is not careless with you. It does not withhold because you are forgotten, but because the rhythm of your life must fall into step with something larger, something beyond your immediate sight. When doors do not open, when time stretches longer than you wish, it is not punishment, it is preparation. Think of the seed buried in the dark earth. To the eye above the soil, it seems as though nothing is happening. Day after day, the ground looks unchanged. Yet beneath the surface, roots are forming, life is stirring, and strength is being gathered for the moment when the first green shoot will break through. If you judged only by what you could see, you would think the seed was lifeless. But the unseen work is the most essential. So it is with you. The universe asks you to wait because something must take root within before it can be revealed without. There is a law of alignment at play here. When the external conditions of your life are not yet ready, when the people you must meet have not yet stepped onto the stage, when the opportunities are still forming in silence, you are asked to stand still. To rush forward when the pieces are not yet in place would scatter your energy and leave you unprepared. The universe sees the entire picture, while you see only fragments. What you call delay is the invisible arranging of those fragments into a whole. And consider this: how many times in your life have you thought you were ready, only to later realize you would not have been able to carry the weight of what you desired? Perhaps you once asked for love before you truly knew yourself. Perhaps you wanted success before you learned the discipline to sustain it. Perhaps you prayed for freedom before you could handle responsibility. The waiting is wisdom protecting you from a gift that would crush you if it came too soon. What seems like denial is, in truth, a form of care. The mind grows impatient because it is trapped in linear time, measuring hours, days, years. But the universe does not count in minutes, it moves in seasons. Winter must pass before spring can bloom. The tide recedes before it returns. The heart that has endured silence understands the beauty of sound. Your waiting is not a barren wasteland, but a season with a hidden purpose. The universe is never late. It is exact, precise, unfolding with perfect rhythm. During this period, you are not abandoned. You are being shaped. The silence you fear is actually the refining fire. The unanswered questions are chiseling away illusions. The delays are strengthening the core of who you are. Each pause is an invitation to see more deeply into yourself, to strip away the false, to grow roots in what is eternal. If you embrace the stillness instead of resisting it, you will begin to see that the universe has been speaking all along, only in a quieter voice. And when the time comes, when the strands align, the moment of revelation will feel inevitable. You will look back at your waiting and realize it was not wasted. Every detour, every closed door, every unanswered plea had its place in weaving the path. What felt like being held back was, in truth, being held for something greater. The universe does not operate in randomness. It waits until all things are ready, and then it moves with precision, opening the way in a manner that cannot be mistaken. This is why you must trust the waiting. Do not curse it, do not run from it, do not believe the lie that nothing is happening. Beneath the surface of your life, everything is happening. The pieces are falling into place. The seed is breaking open. The soil is stirring. The alignment is closer than you think. And when the moment arrives, When what was hidden becomes visible, you will understand why the universe made you wait. The universe delays not to deny you, but to forge something within you that only time and endurance can create. Strength is not born in the instant of receiving what you desire. It is born in the long seasons where you walk without answers, where you are asked to carry the weight of uncertainty and still continue. The waiting is not weakness, it is training. It is the unseen gymnasium of the soul, where endurance is tested, patience is deepened, and resilience is formed. When life holds you in a place of delay, you are confronted with yourself in a way that nothing else can accomplish. Without the noise of constant victories, you are forced to see the gaps, the fears, the fragile places that would remain hidden if everything came too easily. These delays expose you, but they also strengthen you. Just as a muscle must tear in order to grow stronger, the spirit must be stretched, sometimes painfully, in order to expand beyond its old limits. What you think of as being held back is actually the force that builds you up. Consider how storms strengthen trees. The wind pushes them, bends them, shakes them. And yet it is in that very struggle that the roots grow deeper, searching for stability. A tree that never faces resistance will fall easily, but one that has been forced to endure seasons of harsh weather becomes unshakable. So it is with you. The universe allows resistance because resistance is the birthplace of strength. You are not being weakened in your waiting. You are being made unmovable. There is also a quiet discipline that emerges only through delay. When you cannot have what you want immediately, you learn self-control. You learn to focus on what is within your reach, rather than obsessing over what is not. This builds character. It strips you of dependency on instant gratification and teaches you the steadiness required to hold on when life does not bend to your timetable. Without this patience, every blessing would slip through your fingers because you would not have the endurance to sustain it. And strength is not only about withstanding difficulty, it is also about carrying responsibility with grace. Many long for success, love, freedom, or recognition, but without the inner maturity to handle these things, they become heavy burdens rather than blessings. The waiting season is the crucible where this maturity is born. It tempers the ego, sharpens the mind, and prepares the heart. It transforms the desire from something reckless into something rooted, so that when the moment comes, you are not undone by what you receive. Waiting teaches you to master yourself. It teaches you to calm your impulses, to silence the voice that screams for immediacy, and to listen to the deeper rhythm within. It requires you to show up each day without seeing the results you hoped for, and still remain faithful. That consistency is strength. That daily endurance becomes the foundation upon which everything else is built. And though it feels invisible at first, it becomes unshakable over time. Think of those who rise too quickly without this foundation. They may shine for a moment, but without the inner strength formed in waiting, they collapse under the weight of their own success. They had the opportunity, but not the resilience. They had the dream, but not the discipline. You are being spared from such collapse. You are being forged into someone who not only reaches what you long for, but can sustain it for the long journey ahead. So when you feel the frustration of waiting pressing against you, remember that the pressure itself is shaping you. Every delay is adding another layer of strength you will need later. Every closed door is redirecting you to the training ground of endurance. Every unanswered prayer is teaching you to stand firm even without evidence. What is being built within you will last longer than the delay itself. One day, when the waiting is over and you are standing in the place you once longed for, you will realize you carry a strength you would never have known without the delays. You will see that the very season you resented was the one that gave you the ability to endure, to carry, to rise, and not be moved. This is why the wait builds inner strength, because without it, you would never become the person who is truly ready to receive what is meant for you. What you call stillness, the universe calls transformation. In the moments when nothing seems to be happening, When life feels suspended and silent, there is a deeper process unfolding that cannot be seen by the eye or measured by the clock. Waiting often feels like emptiness, but within that emptiness something essential is being shaped. The hidden lessons of stillness are often the most powerful of all, for they do not arrive through noise, activity, or constant striving, but through quiet revelation. It is in the silence that you finally hear what has always been within you. When life slows and distractions fall away, when the constant business can no longer drown out the inner voice, you begin to encounter yourself in a raw and unfiltered way. This encounter is not always comfortable. In fact, it can feel unsettling, even painful, because it reveals truths you have long avoided. Yet it is only through stillness that you learn to listen deeply, and only through listening that you uncover the wisdom you need for the next stage of your journey. Consider how water clears when it is left undisturbed. The turbulence of constant motion keeps it cloudy, but once it is still, the sediment settles and clarity emerges. So it is with the mind and the soul. As long as you are caught in perpetual movement, chasing every desire, fighting every delay, you remain clouded. The lessons you need cannot be seen clearly, but in waiting, when you have no choice but to pause, your vision clears. You begin to see patterns, meanings, and truths that were hidden from you before. This stillness teaches surrender. You learn that life cannot always be forced into your timing or bent to your will. The more you resist the pause, the more restless and dissatisfied you become. But when you accept the stillness, when you let go of the need to control the pace of events, you find a strange kind of freedom. You begin to realize that your worth is not tied to constant doing, nor your purpose to immediate outcomes. You are taught that being is just as important as achieving. And within this pause, hidden treasures reveal themselves. You discover patience not as an abstract idea, but as a lived reality. You begin to see gratitude for what is already present, instead of endless longing for what is missing. You uncover strength you did not know you had, for it takes great courage to sit with silence and not flee from it. These are not lessons you can learn in motion. They can only be revealed when the universe slows you down long enough to listen. The stillness also reveals the illusions you have been carrying. Without the rush of movement, without the constant pursuit of the next thing, you begin to notice the attachments that were driving you unconsciously. You may realize you were chasing recognition because of hidden insecurity or striving for success to fill a void that achievement can never satisfy. The pause exposes these illusions, not to shame you, but to free you. What once seemed so urgent begins to lose its power. The stillness strips away what is false so that only what is real can remain. Even the frustration you feel in waiting has its lesson. It reveals how dependent you are on control, how restless the mind becomes when it cannot dictate outcomes. In seeing this, you are given the chance to release control, to trust in something larger than yourself. The discomfort is the teacher. It points you to the deeper truth, that your strength does not come from bending life to your will, but from aligning yourself with its hidden order. When the silence lingers longer than you would like, remember that transformation takes time. Just as the caterpillar dissolves entirely before becoming the butterfly, there are parts of you that must break down before you can rise renewed. That process cannot be rushed, nor can it be avoided. The waiting season is not a void. It is the cocoon where your next self is forming. To resist it would be to resist your own becoming. And so, the next time you find yourself in a season where nothing seems to move, do not mistake the quiet for absence. Do not believe the silence means nothing is happening. Beneath the still surface, everything is happening. The hidden lessons of stillness are not wasted. They are the very foundation of your transformation. That is why what feels like nothing is, in truth, everything. When you are forced to wait, when life does not immediately grant you what you ask for, something remarkable happens to your vision. The pause strips away distractions and illusions. It sharpens your ability to see not with hurried eyes, but with eyes that have learned to look beneath the surface. Waiting teaches you what really matters, what is truly worth your energy, and what is simply noise. When time slows you down, it gives you the gift of clarity. At first, it may not feel like a gift at all. You feel restless, anxious, frustrated that things are not happening as quickly as you imagined. You may even believe you are losing ground. But the longer you sit in the delay, the more you begin to notice things you overlooked before. You start to recognize patterns, truths, and lessons that were hidden by your own rush to move forward. The pause acts like a lens that refocuses your vision. What once seemed urgent now appears trivial, and what once seemed small begins to reveal its true significance. Imagine standing in a forest. If you run through it quickly, all you see are blurs of trees, shadows, and colors. You miss the details, the texture of the bark, the delicate sound of leaves in the wind, the way light filters through the branches. But if you stop and stand still, if you give yourself the patience to really look, the forest reveals its beauty to you. Waiting works the same way. In the stillness, the details of your own life become visible, and with them comes a deeper understanding of where you are and where you must go. Patience has a way of purifying your vision. It forces you to ask, why do I want this? What is it I am really seeking? Often, the delay reveals that your desire was rooted in ego, fear, or comparison. You may discover that you were chasing something not because it was truly yours, but because the world told you it was valuable. Waiting removes the layers of illusion until only the essence remains. And when you finally see with clear eyes, you no longer waste energy on what is hollow. You begin to pursue what is aligned with your true self. This sharpening of vision is also what allows you to recognize the right path when it appears. Without patience, you would rush into the first opportunity, grasp at the first hand extended, or settle for the first door that opened. But with the clarity waiting gives you, you learn to discern. You can feel when something resonates deeply with who you are, and you can sense when something is out of alignment. You no longer need to chase everything that shines, because you have learned that not everything bright is meant for you. The pause teaches you the wisdom of choice. Waiting also refines your perspective on time itself. When you are impatient, you measure every moment by what you do not yet have, by how far you feel from your goal. But when you surrender to patience, you start to see that every moment is part of the path, not separate from it. Even the waiting is movement. Even the delay is progress. With this vision, you no longer treat life as something to rush through in search of a destination. You begin to value the journey for its own unfolding, knowing that what you are becoming matters as much as what you are reaching for. There is a deeper kind of sight that emerges in these seasons. It is not the sight of the eyes, but of the inner being. You begin to perceive connections you never noticed before, coincidences that are not coincidences at all, gentle alignments that guide you forward. Patience makes space for this kind of vision. It slows you down enough to notice the signs, the subtle movements, the whispers of guidance that would otherwise pass unnoticed. This is why waiting is never wasted. It is during the delay that you learn to see with more than just your eyes. So while the mind resists waiting, the spirit gains immeasurably from it. The pause sharpens your focus, cleanses your desires, and expands your awareness. What once seemed like a barrier becomes a teacher. What once felt like loss reveals itself as preparation. By the time the moment comes, you no longer look at it with desperation or fear of losing it. You see it for what it is, the right thing, at the right time, for the right reasons. That is why patience sharpens vision, because without the waiting, you would never learn to see. There are moments in life when you begin to notice small alignments, subtle patterns, experiences that seem to come together in a way that feels too meaningful to be accidental. You meet someone at the exact moment you needed their presence. A book falls into your hands that speaks directly to the question you've been carrying. A conversation, a sign, an event, appearing so perfectly timed that you cannot dismiss it as random chance. These are the signals that appear in the waiting, quiet confirmations that your path is not stagnant but alive, guided, and preparing to shift. In the silence of delay, when impatience tempts you to believe nothing is happening, the universe begins leaving these markers to remind you that you are not lost. It is as if life itself whispers through these signs, "Hold on, you are on the path. Something is coming." And though these moments are often small, their impact is profound. They pierce through doubt and call you back into trust. They remind you that what feels like emptiness is actually a field of preparation. Waiting can feel unbearable when it is only seen as absence. But when you start noticing synchronicities, waiting becomes something else entirely. It transforms into an unfolding story, a mystery revealing itself piece by piece. Each sign is a thread, and though you may not yet see the full tapestry, you begin to recognize that the design is there. The waiting is not passive. It is active, moving quietly beneath the surface, weaving connections you could never orchestrate on your own. These signals often come at the moments when your patience is thinning. Just when you are tempted to give up, something arrives that reignites your faith. It might not be the breakthrough itself, but it is a spark, a reminder that the breakthrough is approaching. Think of how the sky shifts before dawn. The first light is subtle, barely noticeable, yet it carries the entire promise of the coming day. Synchronicities are like this, gentle hints that the season of waiting is nearing its transformation. But it requires attentiveness to notice them. If your eyes are fixed only on what has not yet arrived, you may overlook the signs scattered along the way. Waiting sharpens your awareness, teaching you to pay attention to the small details, the subtle alignments that would otherwise pass unnoticed. This is one of the gifts of delay. It trains you to see with greater sensitivity. It awakens your capacity to perceive meaning in what once seemed ordinary. There is also a deepening trust that comes from these experiences. Each time you recognize a synchronicity, you are reminded that you are not walking alone. The universe is not indifferent to your journey. It is involved, responsive, weaving connections with precision. These reminders are not random. They are signals pointing toward alignment. And when you begin to see them as such, your fear of waiting softens. You realize that you are being guided step by step, even if the larger picture is still hidden. Sometimes these synchronicities serve as confirmations of your inner state. They mirror back to you the shifts happening within. For example, when you begin to let go of fear, you might encounter opportunities that reflect that freedom. When you begin to choose growth, you might meet people who carry the same energy. Life responds to your inner transformation, and in waiting, these responses are magnified. The signs reveal that the outer world is catching up to the inner changes you have been cultivating in silence. There is a kind of rhythm to this process. Waiting feels like a pause, but in truth, it is a slow crescendo. Each synchronicity builds upon the last, gently leading you toward a moment of alignment that will be undeniable. And when that moment comes, it will not feel sudden or chaotic. It will feel inevitable, as if everything has been pointing to this all along. The waiting season, the delays, the silence, all will make sense because you will see how the signals were preparing you for what is now fully revealed. This is why it is important not to dismiss the subtle. Waiting is not only about enduring until the big moment arrives. It is about learning to see the meaning in what is already unfolding. The signs are there to strengthen your trust, to remind you of the deeper order, and to call you into patience. They do not remove the need to wait, but they transform the way you wait. Instead of despair, there is wonder. Instead of frustration, there is attention. Instead of doubt, there is trust. And so, when you find yourself surrounded by silence, watch closely. Notice the alignments that appear, the small confirmations that arrive when you need them most. They are not coincidences. They are signals that the universe is near, that your waiting is not wasted, and that the shift you long for is already on its way. That is why the signs appear in your waiting, because they are guiding you to the very moment when everything changes. When you look back on the seasons where you were made to wait, you will begin to realize something profound. Nothing was ever withheld to harm you, and nothing was ever lost. What felt like a delay was in fact the preparation for something larger, something more meaningful than what you once imagined. The universe never takes without giving. It never closes a door without opening a greater one in time. The measure of your waiting is the measure of the reward, because the delay deepens your capacity to receive, to hold, and to cherish what arrives. At first, the wait feels like deprivation. You long for the answer, the breakthrough, the moment of fulfillment, and it does not come. Days turn into months, sometimes years, and the heart grows weary. It is easy to think you have been forgotten or that your desire will never be met. But slowly, as you endure, you begin to notice that your longing itself is being reshaped. You no longer crave simply to escape the waiting. You begin to crave the meaning behind it. And this shift prepares you to see the gift for what it truly is when it finally comes. If the thing you long for had come too soon, you would have grasped it without gratitude, or perhaps mishandled it without knowing its worth. It is the very waiting that sharpens your awareness, that deepens your appreciation, that awakens within you the ability to recognize the treasure for what it is. Waiting stretches your capacity, so that when what you asked for finally arrives, you are no longer the same person who first prayed for it. You are larger, stronger, and more prepared. The gift does not simply land in your life. It finds a home within you. Think of the harvest after a long season of tending the soil. If the fruit appeared overnight, you would not have learned the patience to nurture it, the wisdom to protect it, or the skill to sustain it. But when the harvest finally comes after months of labor, it is sweeter because it carries within it the story of your endurance. The fruit is not just nourishment, it is evidence of what you have become in the waiting. The universe works the same way. The longer the season, the greater the ripening, and the more powerful the fulfillment. And yet the reward is not always what you first envisioned. Often it is something greater. What you thought you needed turns out to be only a shadow of what was meant for you. The delay was not to deny you your dream, but to expand it beyond your original imagination. This is why, when the moment finally arrives, it feels both familiar and astonishing. Familiar because you have been longing for it. Astonishing because it exceeds what you once thought possible. The waiting also teaches you to let go of entitlement. You stop demanding that life bend to your timeline and instead open yourself to its unfolding. This humility allows you to receive the gift without arrogance, to hold it with reverence. The greater the waiting, the more reverence you carry, because you know what it cost you to arrive here. You no longer take the moment lightly. It becomes sacred. And it is this sacredness that multiplies the reward. You see, it is not only the gift itself that matters, it is the transformation in you that allows the gift to flourish. Without the waiting, you might have squandered it, overlooked it, or chased the next thing too quickly. But with the waiting, you are able to stop, to savor, to honor. You are no longer hungry for escape, but full of gratitude for the arrival. Gratitude multiplies everything it touches. The gift grows larger in your hands because you have learned to see it clearly. This is why the reward always matches the waiting. Not because the universe keeps a ledger of how many days you suffered, but because the waiting enlarges your soul to receive more than you once could. The blessing is not greater simply in size, it is greater in meaning. It resonates with the depth you have gained. It meets you not at the level of your old self, but at the level of the self that has emerged through the fire of patience. And so, when what you have longed for finally arrives, you will not only see the beauty of the gift itself, but also the beauty of the journey that brought you to it. You will realize that the delay was not wasted time, but the very path that made the arrival possible. You will see that nothing was withheld. It was only being multiplied. That is why the reward always matches the waiting, because what is given is as great as what you have become.